Kirk, tell us about the role that you play in Amos.
Did you see Grande Estrellas?
Sí.
Big star?
Very big star.
Well,
now you are really a first-generation American. Your parents, both of them, were immigrants.
that's correct.
Today, the Hispanic community, the Latino community, is facing a lot of problems with the illegal aliens and immigration. What are your feelings about those problems? Do you have any thoughts about them?
Well, being an immigrant myself, excuse me, I think that's what our country's all about. That should be a problem that we should face. I mean, I think it's good. People who come here, we are all immigrants. We were all aliens. And I think that's what will only strengthen our country. So if people want very much to come here, I'm all for it.
Now let's, we want to put to you a list of names and titles and give us your first reaction to them. A word, a sentence, or a paragraph. The Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood was, to me, a very good movie that was not as successful as I would have liked it to be. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a very good study of the mafia, because in that movie I tried to show the dichotomy of how a man could be a good family man, love his children, love his wife, and then be a businessman where he dealt with possibly murder or whatever was necessary. To me, that's what fascinated me about that subject.
In Harm's Way.
In Harm's Way, I didn't think was a very successful movie. Of course, I've made several movies with John Wayne. That was one of them. We made that, my best impressions of that is that we made it in Hawaii, which was a wonderful place to shoot, but I didn't think it was as good as I would like it to be.
Lust for Life.
Lust for Life, of course, I thought was a wonderful movie on a very interesting character. I was fascinated making the movie Lust for Life and portraying the study of Van Gogh. It's one of my favorite movies because I got a nomination for an Oscar on that. And I think I won the New York Film Critics Award. But I thought it was very well done. I thought Vincent Minnelli did a wonderful job of directing, and Houseman did a wonderful job of producing. And I think it will remain a movie that people will want to see. And it remains a movie that's an unusual study of the tormented life of an artist.
Spartacus.
Spartacus is another favorite of mine because it's very difficult to make a big scale movie. And Spartacus is unusual because even though the background, the canvas is so large, the individual actors dominate the canvas. The performances of Olivier, Lawton, Ustinov, Gene Simmons, and even myself. I liked myself in that picture. I thought it was a good movie that dealt with an important theme, and it pleases me that this movie is liked in so many countries. I was surprised when I went to the Soviet Union that it had been a very popular picture there. So I liked it.
Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick is a very, very talented director. We get into arguments because I don't think he's a very good writer. And very often when he does he's predominantly the writer, I feel the movie isn't that successful. Of course, Stanley Kubrick had just made a couple of little movies, had never made a successful movie when he came to me with the script of Paths of Glory. I loved it, and I thought it was something that had to be made. It was difficult. It was difficult to get the money to make it, and I said, look, this movie may not make a nickel, but we must make it. So I finally succeeded in getting the money to make the movie. And of course, I think it's always going to be an important anti-war picture.
Otto Preminger.
Otto Preminger, to me, was much more of a producer than a director. I thought Otto Preminger had a flair for producing a film. I never considered Otto to be a great director.
Lonely Are the Brave.
One of my favorite movies. I loved Lonely Are the Brave. It never was a very successful movie financially, but it's become a cult film. It's a movie that people respond to. And it's one of the movies that I like because I play a nice person. When you think of it, I haven't been a very nice person in most of the movies that I play. And in Lonely Are the Brave was a character that I enjoyed. It's the few movies that I like to see again. Usually when I make a movie, I don't have much desire to see it. My enjoyment comes from making the movie, not seeing it. But Lonely Are the Brave is a picture that I enjoy watching.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest has mixed emotions for me of great success and great failure. Because I bought the book of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I went to New York and played the leading character in a play on Broadway. I was there for 6 months, took no money. The critics were sort of mixed. I was ahead of its time. They didn't know how to deal with it. I always thought it was a great book. I tried for 10 years to make it into a movie. I was very anxious to play the part of McMurphy, and eventually, after working for more than 10 years and not being able to get one studio to put up a small amount of money, nowadays I would have put up the money myself to make the movie, my son Michael found someone, not a studio, someone who had never made a movie, who put up the money. And they made the movie, of course, with that wonderful performance that Jack Nicholson gave. But the sad thing was, it was a part that I always wanted to play. And of course, he turned it into a masterpiece. It was not only a commercial success, but it was one of the greatest artistic successes. For that, I'm very proud of my son Michael.
That was the next name of my list, Michael Douglas.
Well, of course, I discouraged Michael from ever going into this profession. The first time he surprised me in his second year in college by telling me he was going to be in a play. He had a small part in Shakespeare As You Like It, and afterwards he asked me what did I think. I said, Michael, you were terrible. And I thought, I've stopped that, he'll become a lawyer. He went on, he's in another play. Well, Dad, what do you think? I had to tell him. I thought, you were very good. And after that, he continued, and of course, the rest is history. But what I'm most proud of Michael is expressed in a note that I wrote to him after he produced Cuckoo's Nest and China Syndrome and Romancing the Stone. Of course, I'm looking forward this week to seeing his new film, Jewel of the Nile, which is a sequel to Romancing the Stone. But I wrote him a note in which I said, Michael, I'm more proud of how you handle your success than I am of your success. And that's what I like most about Michael. He's got his feet on the ground, he's got a terrific talent, and he'll continue to make more movies. And I'd like to see him more as an actor. That's why I'm looking forward to his film, Jewel of the Nile. Of course, I'd like to see what he does in that as an actor.
Now, one of the pictures where you had one of your first major successes was Champion. You played a boxer. Now there's Ricky, another boxer, and there's quite a lot of difference between the two characters. What are your thoughts about that?
Listen, there have been several movies made about boxing, and several of them have been successful. Body and Soul with John Garfield was a good boxing picture. I think Champion is a unique film. Champion is a very hard, honest film, because Champion deals with a commentary of the American impression of success. Champion might have been the story of a ruthless man from Madison Avenue who wanted to get ahead on Wall Street. It might have been a ruthless man in any field of endeavor who wanted to become champion. And to me, the power of Champion, and I don't play a completely likable character, but you have great pathos and you have great sympathy for him because he had such a desperate desire to become the champion. And that's one of the problems in our country, that sometimes we overrate the desire, the need to be number one. Numero uno.
Yeah.